my name is Kelly. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm the owner and founder of Travel Morocco Today. I live in Morocco with my Moroccan partner. Today we are going to talk about one of the biggest questions that I get is Morocco safe? And there's a lot of different facets to safety in Morocco, but I want to start off by saying that Morocco is absolutely safe. I feel much safer here than I do living in the United States. I often joke with people that the biggest concern I have is a cat walking into my house. So obviously it does depend where you are in the country and what you're doing and the people you're hanging out with. But on the whole, I find Morocco to be very safe, and I've traveled as a solo female traveler throughout many different parts of the country. So I've been living here since 2023, so I have a lot of experience. But I do want to share some Morocco safety tips for you. This way you can have a really good trip. You don't have to worry about safety, because this is a common question I get, and I think a lot of it is just misconceptions. I think people are unfamiliar with the quote-unquote Middle East, or have never been to an Arabic-speaking country or a predominantly Muslim country. So I just kind of want to clear the air, and that way you can have the best trip possible. So the first safety tip that I have is you need to be careful in Casablanca, okay? Quite literally, I have been all over the country, and the one place where I have really felt unsafe is Casablanca. I'm gonna say, full disclosure, I don't really like Casablanca, so I am a little biased, but it's one of the only places where I've had locals come up to me and say, put your phone away, someone is gonna snatch it out of your hands. And I've never felt like that in Marrakesh or anywhere else. I've dealt with, aggressive vendors in Marrakesh, taxi drivers, but I've never encountered the level of almost thievery that I have in Casablanca. So if you visit Casablanca, be extremely wary of your belongings. Make sure you have, I carry a pack safe bag, and I put all of my money and all of my belongings in there. It has the RFID protection, and I always lock up my money. I only bring the money that I have for the day. That way, if it gets stolen, that's it. It's fine. I still have money back at the hotel. So just be extremely careful. Don't walk around with your phone. If you do, pull to the side, look at it quickly, and then keep going. Number 2, I would not use Google Maps. Why is that a safety issue? It's not really a safety issue, but what happens a lot of times, especially in Marrakesh, and I've had this happen with a lot of my clients who are solo female travelers, they fly into Marrakesh, okay? Marrakesh Airport, the line is out the door. It's 3 hours long. They're exhausted. So by now, it's really, really late. They just want to get to the Medina. They go to the Medina, right? It's late at night. Their phone isn't working. They don't have GPS. They're all alone. It's not well lit. They start freaking out. They see people on the streets. They get nervous. So don't use Google Maps. It's not reliable. The service is hit and miss in a lot of Medinas and cities. So I highly recommend that you use Maps.me instead. I've mentioned it before, but it's an offline app, and essentially you just download the map on your phone, and then you can use it while you're walking around. It's a much, much better option. That way you can get to your accommodations, because a lot of accommodations, I'll just talk about Marrakesh, they're in the Medina, so they're not accessible by vehicles. So essentially you have to walk there because the streets are really narrow and cars can't get there. So you're going to want to have some sort of offline navigation so that you can get there yourself without being nervous or without having to ask directions. Because my third safety tip is, this happens all the time. The 2 worst places I've had it were Fez, and I was over it in Fez, but also in Marrakesh. And essentially people will aggressively come up to you and be like, are you lost? Where are you going? That's not the right way. Don't go there. Okay, if people are aggressively coming up to you and giving you directions or offering directions, this is a huge red flag. Most Moroccans are extremely helpful. They just want to help you. They just want to make sure you get where you're going. They want you to have a good time in Morocco, but they are not going to be in your face telling you this and this and this. Most Moroccans, if you go up to them, they will absolutely help you, but they're not that confrontational. They're a bit more reserved. So it's a big red flag if someone is in your face trying to quote unquote help you. And usually in this situation, it's a scam. They're trying to ask you for money. And it's not just 10 dirhams. They're going to charge you 100 dirhams because they showed you where your Riyadh is. And even if you have like your GPS out and you are perfectly capable of like walking there, they'll say like, oh, the road's closed, or like this and this and this. Don't believe them for a second. I had that happen to me a lot in Fez, honestly. Like the road was closed, the traction wasn't that way, you name it. Like, and I just said to them at one point, I was like, look, if it's lost, I'll call, if it's closed, I'll come back, not a big deal. So be prepared for that. That's a very common scam. Another common scam and something to avoid is taxi drivers overcharging you. So essentially, this varies from city to city. Like I didn't have this problem in Tangier. Most people use the meters, and if they use the meters, that's fine. It's similar in Essaouira because it's a small city, so everywhere you go in the city, it should be 8 dirhams. So in those cities, it's not really an issue. But in places like Fez and Marrakesh predominantly, I have been, and it happened to me once in Ouarzazate, but I've been totally overcharged for things. And so you want to be really careful. You want to know exactly how much the trip should cost, how much you should be paying, and that way you don't completely get overcharged for your ride. If you're interested, you can absolutely use InDrive instead. It's like Uber, but it's basically called InDrive. And I'm not 100% sure if it is or is not legal in the country. You can download the app and use it. I don't know if it's technically legal, so I'll leave that up to your discretion because I'm not 100% certain about the laws here. But I've used it a couple of times without any problem. What I would say is that you need to be extremely careful when using InDrive because taxi drivers hate it to the point that like we got followed down the street by a taxi driver. Okay, it was like next level crazy, and we had to like duck behind stuff, and like we had to duck behind buildings, and the guy was freaking out and telling us you can't use InDrive, that's illegal, blah blah blah. Reality is like we use InDrive because it saves quite a bit of money. So if you are gonna use InDrive, just make sure that there are not taxi drivers around you, and that you're in like a more residential area. This way, like you're not gonna draw attention to yourself, and if someone asks, you can just say it's your friend picking you up. But I'll leave that up to you. It's a really good, basically, a good way to save a lot of money on taxis, especially in places like Marrakesh. We saved a lot in Casablanca as well using InDrive. The next safety tip that I have is to watch out for the menu scam. I've had this happen in Marrakesh. And usually what I do is not at sit-down restaurants as much, but like kind of like food stalls where it's very low-key. This happened to me in Jema El Fina, but essentially what it is like you sit down and you get the menu, and then you order something and you see the price, and then the bill comes back and it's like twice as much, and you're like, what's going on with the price? And then when they come back, they show you a different menu with the inflated price on it. So you're kind of like, what? So you come in, you think it's one price, and then it ends up being another. My best advice for this is if you're dining at one of those places, like one of the stalls in Jema El Fina in the evening, is to take a picture of the menu. Just take a picture of the menu on your phone. That way, when they try to pull this whole scam on you, you can just pull out the picture and be like, look, this is the price that was listed, and this is what I'm going to pay for my dish. And if you run into any problems, always, always, always ask for the police. There are secret police in every Medina, in every city in Morocco. Foreigners are extremely valuable to Morocco. They love tourists. Tourists bring in a lot of money. So if you have any problems, basically, like if someone is bothering you, if someone is hassling you, if a vendor is following you, you just talk about the police. And 9 times out of 10, the person will back away because they know that if the police are involved, they're going to get into serious trouble, and they don't want that to happen. So if you ever feel like that, do not be scared to say, I'm going to get the police, because the police are everywhere. Some of them are in uniform, some of them are hidden in plain clothes, but you'll be able to find someone to help you, and it should not be an issue. Another mistaken safety tip that I have is watch out for locals who are love bombing you. This is especially, it could be for men as well, but a lot of times it's Moroccan men and it goes towards women. Basically, you'll meet someone, they'll seem really nice, and they'll basically tell you like they love you and all this stuff. And we all know kind of where this is going. Like their ulterior motives here, they're really after a visa, whether you're from a European country or you're from Canada or you're from the United States. The idea is that they just want to be with you so they can get residence. In the US, it would be a green card. I don't know how many people told me that my partner was with me just for a green card. In my instance, it was really easy to see that he loved me for me because he already got a green card. He won the lottery before he met me. So he did not need me for a green card. But just be extremely wary. Like if someone is eager to get married to you really, really quickly, if they seem like they want to get you pregnant, whatever, if they're all, if they're not introducing you to their family, if they don't want to have, relations with you, physical relations with you, these are all really good indicators that the relationship potentially is not going to work out. And that's just something that you would want to steer clear of. Another thing that you will want to be aware of in terms of safety is animals. There are a lot of really cute animals, dogs, cats. I find more cats in Morocco, to be honest, but you need to be really careful. If these animals get startled, if they scratch you or they bite you, you're going to need to go to the hospital and you're going to have to get a rabies shot. And I've had that happen, not to me, but to several of my friends. And to be perfectly honest, you do not want to spend your holiday in a Moroccan hospital trying to get rabies, because obviously if you don't get the shots in time, it can be fatal. So just be extremely careful. I wouldn't pick up stray animals. I would be very wary about approaching them, making sure you're not startling them, because you just don't want to run into any issues while you're in this beautiful country, because no one wants to spend their holiday in a hospital. And then the last one that you need to be careful of, especially as women, is unwanted male attention. Now not so much, because I'm usually with my partner, and when I am alone, I don't know, maybe I just look older and no one's interested. But when you walk around alone, a lot of times you'll get unwanted male attention. I've had guys come up to me, ask for my phone number. I've had guys tell me that they love me. I've had, you name it, I've had it happen, whatever. 9 times out of 10, I would say from my experience as a solo female traveler, it's pretty harmless. They're just trying to be nice. Like, if you say no thank you, I'm not interested, they usually get the hint and they walk away. I would say that if it gets more aggressive or they do something that's inappropriate, definitely get the police. The police are there. That's completely inappropriate in Morocco. PDA is also not a big thing in Morocco. So if you're trying to blend in with local culture and you're with your partner, like, I wouldn't, besides holding hands, I wouldn't really, you can hug, but I wouldn't, make out with your partner in public. That's just not, in Morocco, people do those things behind closed doors. Love and overt affection is for behind closed doors. It's a private thing. So if someone's doing something and they make you extremely uncomfortable, definitely go to the police. But on the whole, I would say, it's usually pretty minimal, and it can be annoying for sure, but it's not dangerous. And I would just, be wary of it in terms of like dressing, especially as a woman, because women get much more unwanted male attention than guys. I would say definitely dress conservatively. I would keep like your shoulders covered. I wouldn't wear any like plunging necklines. I wouldn't wear shirts that show midriff. I would try to keep dresses below the knees, nothing super tight. You'll see people here wearing everything, especially because there's so many tourists. So use that as like a general guide. What I would say is, like, if you want to wear a tank top, wear a tank top. Like, no one's going to throw stones at you. But if you start to feel uncomfortable or you feel like you're getting a lot of unwanted male attention, like, just put a shawl over your tank top and you should be fine. But that being said, like, the first time I came to Morocco was in January, and I got a ton of unwanted male attention, partly because my hair was like really, really blonde. And I basically just I was wearing, it was cold, so I was covered from head to toe. So what I'm saying is, clothes sometimes don't necessarily help with everything. And yeah, that's all my safety advice right now. Honestly, Morocco is really, really safe. I've never had any problems here. I find it to be much better than the US. And I really hope that you enjoy your time here and that you have a wonderful trip. And if you like this video, be sure to subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great night. Thank you. Bye.